Once, in a small forgotten village nestled deep within an ancient forest, there was a hollow. Voices that spoke of things no living person should know. The villagers avoided the hollow, of course. They spoke of it in hushed tones, warning their children to stay far away. But children, as you know, are curious creatures. And so, one fateful evening, a young girl named Eliza ventured too close to the hollow. She had always been drawn to the unknown, you see. The way the trees seemed to lean in, as if listening. The way the air grew colder, the closer she got. But Eliza was not afraid. Or so she told herself. Eliza was not like the other children in the village. She was quiet, introspective, and often lost in her thoughts. Her mother had passed away when she was just a child, and her father, a stern man with little patience for stories, had raised her alone. Eliza often felt like an outsider, even among her peers. She found solace in the forest, where the trees seemed to understand her in a way no one else did. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Eliza found herself standing at the edge of the hollow. She had heard the stories, of course. The villagers spoke of people who had entered the hollow and never returned. They spoke of voices that called to you, of shadows that moved on their own. But Eliza was not afraid. She was curious. And curiosity, as we all know, can be a dangerous thing. The moment her foot touched the ground, the world around her changed. The trees seemed to close in, their branches twisting into grotesque shapes. The air grew thick, and the whispers became a cacophony of voices, some pleading, some laughing, some screaming. Eliza tried to turn back, but the path behind her was gone. She was trapped. She wandered the hollow for what felt like hours. Though she could not tell if it was day or night, the sky above was a void, empty and endless. The ground beneath her feet was soft, like moss, but it seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They spoke of things Eliza could not understand, of ancient rituals, of sacrifices, of a force that had slept for centuries, but was now stirring. And then she saw it. A figure standing in the distance. It was her mother, or so it seemed. But as Eliza approached, she realized the truth. The figure was not her mother. It was something else, something wearing her mother's face. The thing smiled at Eliza, its mouth stretching too wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "You shouldn't have come," it said, its voice a twisted mimicry of her mother's. Eliza tried to scream, but no sound came out. The thing reached for her, its fingers long and clawed. And then, darkness. When Eliza awoke, she was back in her bed, the morning sun streaming through her window. It had all been a dream, she told herself. Just a terrible dream. But as she sat up, she noticed something strange. Her hands were caked in dirt, and her nightgown was torn. And when she looked in the mirror, she saw it. A faint, ghostly handprint on her shoulder, as if something had touched her. Something from the hollow. Eliza tried to forget what had happened, but the whispers followed her. They were faint at first, like the rustle of leaves outside her window. But as the days passed, they grew louder, more insistent. They spoke of the hollow, of its history, of the thing that lived there. And they spoke of Eliza, of how she was different, of how she was chosen. Desperate for answers, Eliza turned to the village elder, a woman named Agatha, who was said to know more about the hollow than anyone else. Agatha listened to Eliza's story in silence, her face growing pale. "The hollow is older than the village," she said. "It is a place of power, a place where the veil between worlds is thin. The thing that lives there is not of this world. It feeds on those who enter, trapping their souls and wearing their faces to lure others in." "But why me?" Eliza asked. Agatha hesitated, then said, "Because you are special, Eliza. The hollow has chosen you. It wants you to become its next vessel, to carry its power into the world." Eliza knew she had to return to the hollow. She had no choice. The whispers were growing louder, more demanding. They were no longer just in her mind. They were everywhere. In the wind, in the trees, in the ground beneath her feet. She could feel the hollow calling to her, pulling her back. That night, under a moonless sky, Eliza returned to the hollow. The moment she stepped inside, the world shifted. The trees closed in, the whispers became screams, and the thing wearing her mother's face appeared before her. "You came back," its voice a twisted mockery of her mother's. "I knew you would." But Eliza was ready. She had learned the truth from Agatha. The hollow was a prison, and the thing that lived there was its prisoner. It could only escape by luring someone to take its place. Eliza had no intention of becoming its next victim. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant, a family heirloom her mother had given her before she died. The thing recoiled, its face twisting in rage. "You cannot defeat me," it snarled. But Eliza held the pendant high, and the hollow began to tremble. The ground cracked, the trees swayed, and the whispers turned to wails. The thing screamed as the pendant's light engulfed it, banishing it back to the depths of the hollow. When Eliza awoke, she was back in her bed, the morning sun streaming through her window. The pendant was clutched tightly in her hand, its surface warm to the touch. The whispers were gone, and the hollow was silent. But Eliza knew the truth. The hollow was still there, waiting. And though she had escaped, she could never truly leave it behind. Eliza never spoke of what happened that night. But sometimes, when the wind blows just right, she can still hear the whispers, and she knows deep down that the hollow is waiting, waiting for her to return. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this eerie tale, don't forget to leave a like, and if you crave more chilling narratives, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Until next time.